The day you start believing in yourself is the day your life starts to change. Most people never get what they want because they never truly believe they can have it. They wait for others to validate them. They hold back their ideas. They stay quiet, play small, and hide their goals. But let me tell you, life doesn't reward hesitation. It rewards action. And action comes from belief. If you want to achieve cool things, you've got to build belief that's strong enough to stand alone. You don't need to feel confident every day. You just need to train your mind to stop working against you. This video will give you 10 practical ways to believe in yourself and finally create momentum in your life. No theory, no fluff, just real strategies that work. If you've been waiting for the right time to turn things around, this is it. The change starts when you decide you're worth it, and back that decision with action. Number 1, start doing things alone to build real confidence. You know, confidence isn't something you find by accident. It doesn't show up when you wait around hoping for a better day or the perfect moment. Real confidence begins the moment you decide to stand on your own 2 feet and do things by yourself. No approval, no applause, no crowd to cheer you on. Just you showing up. There's a kind of power you earn when you start doing things alone. Not because you want to be isolated or prove something to anyone else, but because you finally understand that growth doesn't come from comfort. It comes from facing the things you've been avoiding. When you walk into a room by yourself, when you go after goals without waiting for backup, when you make decisions without needing 10 people to agree with you, that's when something changes inside. You stop wondering if you're enough. You stop needing everyone to see your value because you begin to feel it for yourself. Now, at first, doing things alone can feel awkward. Maybe you're used to asking for opinions before taking action. Maybe you feel uneasy going to events or starting a project without someone by your side. But that discomfort you feel, that's not weakness. That's the very place your strength starts to build. The reason so many people never believe in themselves is because they keep tying their worth to how many people support them. And here's the truth. People will come and go. Some will cheer you on and some won't even notice you. You can't let that decide your value. The only way to stop doubting yourself is to stop depending on other people's energy to keep you moving. You build confidence when you rely on your own steps. Go to that meeting alone. Start that business with no one clapping. Hit the gym when no one's watching. Read the book, study the skill, fix your life. All on your own time. Not because it's easy, but because it's yours to do. Confidence isn't a show. It's not about pretending to have it all together. It's not a smile you fake or words you memorize. Confidence is earned. You earn it when you take action while you're nervous. You earn it when you don't feel like you're ready, but go anyway. You earn it when you walk into uncomfortable places and come out stronger than before. People often ask, how do I start believing in myself? And I always say, don't wait to believe. Start with action. You don't need belief to begin. You need movement. Take the step. Act without waiting for the feeling to come first. The belief shows up after you've done it a few times. It grows when you prove to yourself that you can survive discomfort, that you don't need permission, that you can stand tall without a crowd. Start with small things. Go to a cafe and sit by yourself without looking at your phone. Apply for something you always hesitated on. Walk into a room where you don't know anyone. Speak up when your voice shakes. The more you do this, the more you tell your brain, I've got me. And that's where the belief begins. Not from a motivational quote, but from real actions that show you what you're made of. You can't keep waiting for people to walk with you. Sometimes you're going to have to take the first step alone, and sometimes the next 5 steps too. That's how leaders are built. That's how winners are created, not by crowds, but by courage. If you keep needing company to move forward, you're limiting your progress. If every decision you make depends on someone else's support, you're still handing them control over your life. Take it back. Learn to sit with your thoughts. Learn to trust your gut. Learn to walk into situations without knowing everything and still keep going. Because what happens is this: once you start doing things alone, your confidence doesn't just grow, it hardens, it strengthens. It becomes unshakable. And once you get to that point, you don't fear rejection. You don't overthink people's opinions. You don't need to explain yourself anymore. You just do the work, quietly, relentlessly, fully. That's when you become dangerous, in the best way. Not to others, but to your old excuses, to your laziness, to your doubts. Because when you believe in yourself, you stop giving energy to things that drain you. You stop shrinking to fit in. You stop holding back out of fear. And here's something important. Believing in yourself doesn't mean you'll always feel confident. It means you trust yourself even when you're scared. It means you keep going even when the outcome isn't certain. That's real belief. That's power. That's what sets people apart in this world. You've got to be your own proof. Nobody's going to hand you that belief. People don't wake up every day thinking about how to make you feel better about yourself. That's your job. Your confidence is your responsibility. So treat it like it matters. Build it like it's your foundation. Protect it like it's your future, because it is. You don't have to do everything alone forever, but you do need to start. You need to take ownership of your life. When you do things alone, hard things, unfamiliar things, meaningful things, you start to see what you're capable of. And once you see it, you can't go back to doubting it. So make today the day you stop waiting. Don't wait for people to understand you. Don't wait for perfect timing. Don't wait for permission. Just move. Just begin. Start small, but start and keep going. That's how belief is built. That's how cool things get done. That's how lives get changed. One bold action at a time, even when it's lonely. Especially when it's lonely. Because that's where the real work happens. That's where your confidence is born. Number 2, keep promises you make to your own mind. They say they'll start working on something, and they don't. They say they'll wake up earlier, and they don't. They say this time it's going to be different, and it never is. Over time, you stop trusting your own words, not because someone else doubts you, but because you've taught your mind not to take your own voice seriously. There's a certain weight behind every promise you make to yourself. And if you keep walking away from those promises, even when nobody's watching, your confidence begins to fade. Not in a loud way, but quietly. It starts in the way you hesitate. It shows up in the way you second guess. It eats away at your drive, your focus, your self-respect. Because somewhere deep down, you know you don't always follow through. And when you know that, you stop believing that anything you say to yourself really matters. Now, that's something you have the power to change. But you don't fix it by making louder promises or more goals. You fix it by becoming the kind of person who follows through, even on the smallest things. You start building belief when your actions match your intentions. You don't need to shout your goals to the world. You just need to prove them to yourself, step by step. When you say you're going to do something, your brain listens. When you don't do it, your brain keeps score. It might not seem like a big deal to skip the task or delay the plan, but those tiny moments become your habit, and your habit becomes your identity. If you say you're going to exercise and you don't, your brain stores that as a pattern. If you say you'll work on your goal tomorrow and you break that too, it stores that as well. And suddenly you've trained yourself not to trust your own word. That's where belief dies, not in one dramatic failure, but in the everyday moments where you don't show up like you said you would. But it also means that's where belief can come alive again. It starts when you treat your own voice with respect. Not perfection, respect. If you say you'll start the project at 4 p.m., start at 4 p.m. If you say you'll write one page tonight, write it. If you say you're going to stop checking your phone in the morning, then not because it's easy, not because someone else is watching, but because you said so. And your word has to start meaning something again. This isn't about being strict for the sake of discipline. It's about knowing that when you speak to yourself, you're listening. Your future self is listening. Your belief is listening. Every time you follow through, your brain says, maybe I can trust this person again. And trust is the root of all belief. When you trust your own follow through, you don't wait around for motivation anymore. You don't doubt every decision. You know that if you say you'll do it, you'll find a way. That's what makes belief strong. It's not built from inspiration. It's built from repetition, from keeping the promises you've broken before, from becoming consistent where you used to fall off, from holding yourself to a higher standard even when nobody claps, even when you're tired, even when the progress feels slow. The promises you make to yourself should not be negotiable. Because if your word means nothing to you, how do you expect the world to believe in you? If you don't believe that your actions will back up your words, you'll start shrinking your vision to match your inconsistency. You'll play smaller. You'll aim lower. You'll settle. Not because you don't have the potential, but because your belief can't grow in an environment where your own promises are constantly broken. And that's the truth most people won't say out loud. You want to believe in yourself? Then become the person your mind can count on. Be someone who doesn't need to say it twice. If you told yourself you'd clean up your diet, start with today's meals. If you told yourself you'd learn a new skill, put in one focused hour now. If you told yourself this year would be different, make the next hour count. Stop planning to start. The secret to belief is not hype. It's not motivation. It's not reading more books or watching more speeches. It's in doing the thing you told yourself you would do, even when it's boring, even when it's hard, even when nobody knows. That's how you build internal power. You start standing taller. You start trusting your own timing. You stop panicking when challenges come, because deep down you know you've got a history of showing up for yourself. You can't fake that kind of belief. You earn it. You earn it with every early morning, with every late night, with every moment where you said yes to your growth and no to your weakness. That's how you build belief that doesn't break when life gets hard. It's not about being perfect. You'll make mistakes. You'll fall short sometimes, but even then you hold the line, you reset, you show up again. You don't let one failure become an excuse for the next 10. You remember that your belief grows every time you act like your word still matters. So take it seriously. Talk to yourself like it counts. Make fewer promises, but keep every single one. Build the habit of following through, even if nobody else sees the progress. Because when you keep those promises, something powerful happens. You stop needing outside validation to feel strong. You stop looking for signs. You stop wondering if you're ready. You begin to know you are. And that knowing becomes your fuel. That belief turns into action. That action turns into results. And those results turn into something better than confidence. They turn into trust, unshakable trust in who you are and what you can do. So start today, keep it simple, make a promise to yourself that actually matters. Then keep it, don't delay, don't explain, don't wait, just do it, and then do it again tomorrow. That's how you rebuild belief. That's how you become someone who not only talks about goals, but lives them. Not someday, now. Number 3, take action fast before your doubts take over. When you hesitate, you give your doubts time to grow. And the longer you wait, the louder those doubts get. That voice in your head starts telling you you're not ready. It says you're not good enough. It reminds you of every mistake, every failure, and every reason why you should hold back. But here's the truth. Doubt only wins when you pause long enough to hear it. That's why taking action quickly is one of the strongest habits you can build if you want to believe in yourself and accomplish anything meaningful. The longer you overthink, the harder it gets to move. Your mind starts pulling up every reason why your plan might fail. It magnifies every weakness and makes your strengths feel invisible. But when you take action, before your doubts catch up, you take back control. You stop waiting for perfect clarity and just do the thing that needs to be done. People wait too long. They wait for the right time. They wait for motivation. They wait until they feel more confident. But while they wait, they lose the fire. They start to believe their hesitation is proof that they're not cut out for it. That's not true. You're not broken. You're just stuck in a habit of overthinking. And the only way out is movement. You build belief through fast action, not careless action, not random action, but real, deliberate action taken before fear has time to settle in. You don't need to feel ready to start. You need to interrupt the cycle of doubt that keeps you frozen. Let's be honest. Most people don't fail because they tried and it didn't work. They fail because they didn't even start. They let the pressure build until it crushed their courage. They sat on a good idea until it got cold. They thought about it too long and lost the energy to act. And by the time they were ready, the opportunity had passed or the doubt had grown too big. So you have to learn to move quickly. When a good idea comes, write it down and take the first step. When your gut tells you something matters, listen and do something about it. Don't give your mind time to talk you out of it, because it will. It always does. Your brain doesn't like risk. It doesn't like uncertainty, but belief isn't built in safety. It's built in forward motion. Every time you take fast action, you send a message to yourself that you're someone who follows through. You start to build a pattern of showing up, not thinking too long, not dragging your feet. You begin to trust yourself more, not because you always succeed, but because you act in spite of the fear. That's what strong people do. They don't eliminate doubt. They act faster than it can control them. You need to stop waiting for everything to be perfect before you move. Perfection is a lie. Readiness is an illusion. There's no perfect version of you waiting around the corner. You only become the version you want to be by doing the work now. Not next week, not when you feel better, now. Fast action does something else too. It builds momentum. Momentum is powerful. Once you get moving, it's easier to stay in motion. But you can't wait for momentum to find you. You create it by doing the first hard thing, then the next, then the one after that. One small win leads to another. 1 hour of effort opens the door to a better day. But you only get there by moving before your fears freeze you in place. Think about the times you've acted quickly, the times you didn't hesitate. Maybe it was a decision you made in the moment, a conversation you had without overthinking, a step you took without waiting for approval. What happened? Even if it didn't go perfectly, you felt something different, something real. You felt alive. That's what happens when you move in alignment with your instinct instead of your fear. Now think about the times you waited too long, the moments you talked yourself out of it, the chances you missed because you gave your fear too much space. What came from that? Regret, frustration, the feeling that maybe you let something important slip away. And the worst part, you can't get that time back. That's why this matters. You can't afford to let your doubts keep running your life. You have goals, you have dreams, you have changes you know you need to make. And the only thing standing between where you are and where you want to be is the gap between intention and action. Close that gap, move quicker, stop thinking so much, start doing. That doesn't mean you'll get everything right. It means you'll get better by moving. You'll learn faster, you'll grow stronger. You'll stop letting fear make your decisions. Because the truth is, doubt isn't going anywhere. You just can't let it lead. You have to get in front of it. You have to build the habit of doing the uncomfortable thing while the window is open. Your future depends on your ability to move when it's time to move. Not later, not when you're more prepared. right now. That message you've been meaning to send, send it. That task you've been avoiding, start it. That change you know you need, make it. Fast action teaches your brain that you're not here to sit around. You're here to create something real. The more you do this, the more belief you'll build, because belief grows in motion. It grows when you keep your momentum alive. It grows when you act before fear takes over the wheel. You don't have to silence every doubt. You just have to keep moving anyway. The people who achieve real things in life, the ones who actually make progress, they aren't fearless. They're fast. They make decisions. They take steps. They don't overanalyze every detail before moving forward. They build belief not by waiting, but by acting. You can be that person too. You just have to train yourself to act before you overthink. Trust the part of you that wants change. Listen to the part of you that knows this matters. Don't delay. Don't talk yourself out of it. Move. Even if it's just one small step, move before the doubts grow. Move while your vision is still clear. Move while your energy is fresh. Move like your life depends on it. Because in some ways, it does. Every moment you hesitate, you give your fears more room. Every second you delay, you shrink your own power. Don't do that to yourself. You deserve better. Your life deserves better. So take action. Take it fast. Take it while you still believe, because that's how belief turns into reality, one brave move at a time. Number 4, stop explaining yourself to people who don't care. One of the greatest mistakes you can make on your journey of personal growth is trying to explain yourself to people who have already decided not to care. It wears you out. It distracts you. It turns your focus outward when it should be rooted inward. When you keep justifying your decisions, your dreams, or your actions to people who aren't listening to understand but just waiting to judge, you lose valuable energy that should be used to build your life. You do not need to explain your goals to someone who has never even chased one. You don't need to justify your standards to people who lower theirs daily. You don't need to convince anyone why you're changing, improving, or moving differently. Some people will never understand because they're not trying to. And no matter how clearly you explain your reasons, they've already made up their mind about you. Trying to convince them doesn't bring clarity. It brings frustration. The truth is, not everyone deserves access to your thoughts. Not everyone deserves to hear your story in detail. And not everyone has the emotional capacity to process your truth with respect. That's why explaining yourself to people who don't care will only leave you feeling empty, unheard, and misunderstood. You give your time, your words, and your heart, and in return, you get silence, sarcasm, or shallow responses. That's not connection. That's emotional noise. There's a powerful kind of freedom that comes when you stop trying to be understood by everyone. When you stop over-explaining, you reclaim your voice. You stand in your truth without waiting for someone else to validate it. You move with confidence, not arrogance, but confidence rooted in knowing that your life is your responsibility, not their discussion. You have to understand this early. Not everyone will get it, and that's okay. Some people will misunderstand you on purpose because they feel threatened by your growth. Some will pretend not to see your effort because acknowledging it would force them to face their own stagnation. And some simply don't have the depth to hold space for your journey. That's not your fault, and it's not your job to shrink yourself so they can feel comfortable. Your only job is to live honestly and keep moving forward with intention. You don't need to stop and explain why you've changed. You don't need to write a speech about why your goals have shifted or why you don't show up to every event anymore. The people who genuinely care won't need all the details. They'll respect your direction because they respect your growth. People who care will ask how you're doing, not what you're doing. They won't need to be convinced. They'll listen. They'll support, even if they don't fully understand. That's the kind of energy you protect and allow into your space. But the rest, the ones who question your every step but never encourage your progress, those people don't need your explanations. You don't owe anyone a breakdown of your plans just to make them feel okay with your life. You don't owe them a step-by-step guide through your healing, your transformation, your reinvention. Especially not when their only intention is to find fault, laugh at your vision, or pull you back to their level of comfort. Every minute spent explaining your every move to people who don't care is a minute lost in building something real. It's a minute you could have used to learn, to grow, to execute, but instead you used it defending yourself to an audience that already made a decision to not care. When you realize how valuable your energy is, you stop wasting it on conversations that go nowhere. You stop pouring your spirit into explanations that fall on deaf ears. You stop waiting for people to clap for you, and you learn to clap for yourself. That's maturity. That's strength. That's real self-respect. And you must remember this too. People who constantly want explanations from you are usually trying to control you. They want to know your every move so they can judge it, label it, or challenge it. They use your words as weapons to slow you down or keep you second-guessing. That's not interest. That's manipulation. Protect your peace. Silence is power. You don't need to explain why you've chosen to focus more. You don't need to defend your decision to cut off negative relationships. You don't owe anyone a reason for becoming more disciplined, more intentional, more serious about your life. Let your results explain for you. Let your presence speak. Let your consistency do the talking. The ones who really care will see it, and the ones who don't, they weren't going to hear you anyway. If you spend your life trying to explain yourself to every critic, you'll never get to where you're trying to go. Your path wasn't built for public approval. It was built for personal evolution. It's okay if some people leave when you stop explaining. It's okay if they don't understand. You're not here to be understood by everyone. You're here to become someone you understand. There's peace in not answering every question. There's power in keeping your decisions private. There's freedom in letting people wonder while you work. When you explain less, you focus more. And the more focused you are, the more progress you make. You are not obligated to explain your boundaries, your growth, your values, or your silence. Sometimes your peace will offend people. Let it. Sometimes your distance will confuse them. Let it. You don't owe everyone access to your process. You owe yourself the right to grow without interruption, to evolve without justification, to change without having to give a speech about it. You're not selfish for protecting your energy. You're not cold for walking away from people who didn't value you when you were available. Every time you feel the urge to explain yourself, pause. Ask yourself, will this explanation help me grow? Will it create understanding, or just give someone more room to question me? If the answer brings more noise than clarity, you already know what to do. Your journey is sacred. Your progress is real. Your energy is limited. Don't waste it trying to make people comfortable with a version of you they've already rejected. If someone can't support you without constant explanation, they're not for you. Stay focused, move in silence, trust yourself, and stop handing out explanations to people who've shown you they don't really care what the answer is. Your life is yours. Live it without apology. Build it without needing to defend every brick. You don't have to explain growth to people who never wanted you to grow. Keep going. Keep rising. Keep your voice strong, but use it where it matters most. Number 5. Let your actions speak louder than your anxiety. Anxiety has a way of making everything feel 10 times heavier than it is. It convinces you that something bad is always waiting on the other side of your next decision. It keeps your mind busy with endless questions. What if you fail? What if you look foolish? What if people judge you? It tells you to stay still, to play it safe, to avoid risk. And the longer you sit with those thoughts, the more they convince you that movement is dangerous. But here's the truth. Nothing crushes anxiety more than real action. No amount of thinking can match the power of doing. Anxiety thrives in the unknown. It feeds on the space between intention and action. The longer you think about the thing you're afraid to do, the more reasons your mind finds to avoid it. But the moment you start moving, something shifts. It doesn't make the fear disappear completely, but it puts you back in control. Your brain stops spinning and starts responding. Your focus shifts from what might happen to what's happening right now. That's the space where confidence grows. Not from waiting to feel ready, but from stepping in while you're nervous and doing the work anyway. When your actions are louder than your anxiety, you stop trying to win the battle inside your head with just thoughts. You win it by proving through movement that you're still in charge. You get up. You take the call. You speak up in the meeting. You go to the gym. You write the words. You show up. And with every step you take, you build a new pattern in your mind. One that says, even when I'm anxious, I move forward. You don't need to wait for the fear to vanish. If you're waiting to feel calm before you take the leap, you'll be waiting forever. The calm you're looking for often shows up after the action, not before. You earn that peace by moving through the discomfort. Every time you act while you're afraid, you're training your nervous system to handle pressure. You're telling yourself, I don't need to feel perfect to make progress. Anxiety wants you to believe that discomfort is a stop sign, but action teaches you that it's a starting point. That tight feeling in your chest, that pressure in your head, that sense of doubt, it doesn't mean you're not capable. It just means you're pushing beyond what's familiar. And that's exactly where growth lives. No one builds anything meaningful by staying inside their comfort zone. Everything you want, more confidence, more success, more peace of mind, it lives on the other side of the actions you're scared to take. So start where you are. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for your nerves to calm down. Move anyway. Speak anyway. Apply anyway. Say yes anyway. Make the call. Submit the application. Post the work. Have the conversation. Go to the appointment. Do what needs to be done while your hands are still shaking. That's how you take the power back. You'll never outthink anxiety. It's not a logic problem, it's an action problem. You don't beat it by trying to be smarter than it. You beat it by taking the exact steps it tells you to avoid. Anxiety says stay home, you go out. Anxiety says don't try, you put in the work. Anxiety says you're not ready, you start now. Each time you do that, you're shrinking its influence over your life. And here's what people don't realize. When you let your actions lead, the anxiety gets quieter over time. Not because you forced it away, but because you proved it wrong. You walked into the meeting and it didn't destroy you. You posted your work and the world didn't fall apart. You had the hard talk and your voice got stronger. Your brain starts collecting evidence that you can handle life, even when it's uncomfortable. It's a pattern that builds self-respect, and self-respect is the foundation of belief. When you know you're someone who acts in spite of anxiety, you stop doubting your ability to handle life. You stop shrinking your dreams to fit your fear. You stop needing everything to feel good before you move. Don't try to feel your way into action. Act your way into feeling. Wake up and do what matters, even if your chest feels tight. Sit down and get to work, even if your mind is racing. You don't need to conquer everything in one day. Just take the next step, then the next. You'll be surprised how much stronger you feel when your hands are busy building instead of your thoughts spinning in circles. People talk about confidence like it's something you either have or you don't. That's not true. Confidence comes from action. Every small win you create is a deposit into your self-belief. Every time you show up when anxiety says you can't, you earn your own respect. And when you respect yourself, you don't need everything to feel perfect anymore. You trust your ability to move through the mess. So when that anxious voice shows up and tells you to stay small, do the opposite. Step in. Don't try to silence the voice. Just make sure it's not the one making your decisions. Take the lead. Use your actions to show yourself that you can move anyway. And over time, that voice will lose its grip. It won't go away completely, but it won't stop you either, because you'll know what to do. You'll know who you are. You are not your anxious thoughts. You are what you do in spite of them. You are what you choose when fear knocks and you open the door anyway. You are your consistency, your courage, your movement. That's what defines you. Not the doubts in your head, but the choices you make in response to them. Your life won't change because your anxiety disappeared. It will change because you acted anyway, because you kept showing up, because you didn't let fear decide your future. So from now on, let your actions speak. Speak clearly. Speak loudly. Speak with direction. Not for others, but for you. Do the things that matter, even when your mind is heavy. Move when your legs feel stiff. Show up even when your confidence is shaking. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to be honest. Honest enough to say, yes, I feel afraid, but I'm doing it anyway. That's what separates those who grow from those who stay stuck. Not perfection, not calmness, just action. Real, uncomfortable, honest action. Taken again and again until belief starts to grow louder than fear. Let your actions prove what you're capable of. Let them rewrite the story your anxiety has been telling you. Let them remind you of your power, because it's there, waiting for you to use it. Not someday, now. Number 6, start doing more and thinking less about judgment. Judgment holds more people back than failure ever will. It's not what others actually say that stops you. It's what you think they might say. That invisible fear of being judged, laughed at, or misunderstood. It's what keeps you stuck in hesitation. Thinking instead of doing. Planning instead of building. You want to try something new, but your mind immediately goes to what others might think. Will they laugh? Will they talk? Will they criticize? And before you even begin, you're already shrinking yourself to fit someone else's opinion. But here's the truth. People are already judging you. Whether you play big or stay small, they'll still form opinions. Whether you speak up or stay quiet, someone will have something to say. So if judgment is guaranteed, the only real choice is whether you're going to live according to their opinions or your own potential. Thinking too much about judgment turns your energy inward in all the wrong ways. It makes you self-conscious. It makes you second guess. It makes you play a role instead of being yourself. But when you do more and think less about what others think, something powerful starts to happen. You free yourself. You free yourself from the weight of overthinking. You stop carrying their opinions like they're facts. You stop measuring your self-worth based on their reactions. You begin to value your own effort more than their approval. That's where belief starts to grow. Not in the silence of thinking, but in the motion of doing. Because real confidence doesn't come from avoiding judgment. It comes from acting anyway. Every day you hold back because of what someone might think is a day you don't grow. It's a day you don't express yourself fully. It's a day you live under someone else's expectations. That's a high cost, and you're paying it with your time, your talent, and your future. You can't keep waiting to feel safe from judgment. That moment never comes. You'll never reach a point where nobody has an opinion, but you can reach a point where those opinions stop controlling your choices. Start doing more. Build something. Speak honestly. Show up in places that matter to you. Create, move, fail, improve. When you're in action, judgment doesn't sting as much because you're focused, you're living, you're investing in yourself. Thinking about judgment keeps you in your head, but doing pulls you into real life. And in real life, you'll start to see how little people are actually watching you. Most are too busy with their own problems to care about what you're doing. And the few who do judge, their words don't have the power they used to. Not when you're busy building something meaningful. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to defend your choices. You don't need to apologize for trying. All you need to do is take the next step that matters to you. Judging is easy. Doing is rare. Most critics are watching from the sidelines because they're too scared to play. So why let them stop you? You're not here to impress strangers. You're here to fulfill your potential. And that potential won't grow while you sit back and think about what people might say. It grows when you take risks, when you try things that aren't guaranteed to work, when you lean into growth without asking for permission. You become stronger by acting, not by avoiding. And the more you act, the more your tolerance for judgment increases. You stop needing everyone to like you. You stop bending your plans to fit their comfort. You start trusting yourself more than you trust the noise around you. You stop hesitating and start showing up. And with every step you take, the fear of judgment loses its grip. This isn't about being reckless. It's about being free. Free to be yourself without filtering every move through someone else's lens. Free to try things that matter to you. Free to speak your truth, even if it's not popular. Because the truth is, the people who judge the loudest are often the ones doing the least. The people who understand effort and courage, they won't tear you down. They know what it takes to step out of your comfort zone. They'll respect the effort, even if they don't agree with the path. Your life belongs to you. You're the one who has to live with your choices. You're the one who has to carry the consequences. So why give your power away to someone who doesn't even understand your goals? Why delay your progress to make others feel comfortable? Do more. Think less about how it looks. Think less about who's watching. Think less about getting it perfect. Get in motion. Let your actions speak. Let your progress be seen without needing validation, because people can't judge what they can't control. And when you take control of your own pace, your own journey, their opinions start to sound a lot smaller. You have to want your future more than you fear their words. You have to value your growth more than their approval. You have to respect your time too much to waste it on their noise, because at the end of the day, they're not the ones who have to live with the regret. You are. They're not the ones who miss the opportunity. You are. They don't lose time by watching you lose time by holding back. Every time you think about judgment, redirect that energy into action. Instead of wondering what they'll say, ask yourself what you'll lose if you don't try. Instead of imagining their opinions, think about the progress you could be making. Instead of seeking approval, go earn your own respect by doing the hard thing anyway. The longer you stay trapped in judgment, the more disconnected you become from your own strength. But the moment you step out and start doing, you reconnect with the part of you that believes, the part of you that wants more, the part of you that's ready to stop explaining and start living. You don't need to be perfect to start. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to be real. Real with yourself. Real with your effort. Real with your journey. Don't let judgment win. Don't let fear make decisions you'll regret later. You know what needs to be done. You know what you've been putting off. Now is the time to act, not with permission, not with guarantees, but with courage. This is your life. Own it. Take the space you've been holding back from. Say what you mean. Do what you care about. Take action, even when it's scary. That's where belief grows. That's where the real change happens. Not in your thoughts, but in your steps. So from this point forward, stop giving judgment a seat at the table. Start giving your energy to the things that actually matter. The work, the effort, the discipline, the growth, the action. The life you want is waiting, but it won't wait forever. Start now. Do more, think less, and take back control of your story. Number 7. Tell yourself the truth, even when it hurts. Growth begins the moment you get honest with yourself. Not when things feel easy, not when the answers are comfortable, but when you finally look in the mirror and face the truth you've been avoiding. The truth about your habits. The truth about your excuses. The truth about what you're actually doing with your time, your energy, and your potential. It's not easy. In fact, it stings. But that sting is what wakes you up. That pain is what breaks the spell of denial. You don't get stronger by telling yourself soft lies. You don't improve by avoiding reality. You don't build confidence by pretending everything is fine when it's not. You grow when you call yourself out. You grow when you admit what's not working. You grow when you stop blaming everything around you. and take full responsibility for where you are and who you've become. That level of honesty requires courage. It's not something you do once, it's something you practice daily. You have to be the one who checks yourself. No one else will do it for you, not truthfully, not consistently. Most people won't tell you the full truth because they're afraid to hurt your feelings, and others won't tell you the truth because they benefit from you staying the same. That's why you can't outsource honesty. It has to come from you. You have to be the one who says, "This isn't working," or "I'm not doing my best," or "I need to change this now." The truth hurts because it exposes the gap between where you are and where you could be. But that gap is where the work lives. That gap is where transformation starts. You can't cross it by ignoring it. You have to step into it fully. And that begins with facing the truth, not sugar-coated, not watered down. The full, clear, undeniable truth. If you're always tired, ask why you keep running from rest and discipline. If you're always anxious, ask what habits are fueling that chaos. If you're stuck in the same place, ask why you keep making the same choices. These questions aren't comfortable, but they're necessary. Because the more you lie to yourself, the harder it gets to believe in yourself. And belief doesn't grow in confusion, it grows in clarity. When you tell yourself the truth, you stop playing games with your time. You stop pretending you'll change tomorrow. You stop saying someday and start saying today. You stop using weak language to explain strong problems. You stop calling laziness burnout when you know you haven't even tried. You stop calling bad habits coping when you know they're holding you back. That kind of honesty builds a solid foundation. It gives you something real to work with. And here's the thing, truth doesn't just point out what's wrong. It also reminds you of what's right. When you face the truth, you see your strength, you see your power, you see your potential. You remember that you've been through worse before and came out stronger. You remember that you're capable of doing hard things, even when it feels impossible. The truth doesn't just break you, it also builds you. But it has to be full, it has to be raw, it has to be yours. You can't keep running from the parts of yourself that need work. You can't hide behind distractions and expect your life to change. You can't keep making excuses and expect your confidence to grow. Every excuse is a barrier. Every half-truth is a step backward. If you want to move forward, you need to get honest about what's in your way, and that usually starts with you. People say they want to grow, but they don't want the part that comes first, the discomfort of truth. That's why so many stay stuck, because the truth feels heavy at first. But the longer you avoid it, the heavier your life becomes. Denial is a quiet weight that follows you everywhere. It clouds your judgment, it slows your progress, and it eats away at your self-respect. Telling yourself the truth puts you back in the driver's seat. It shifts your mindset from "I don't know why this keeps happening to me" to "I can do something about this." That shift is everything. That's when belief starts to return. That's when your goals start to feel possible again. Because you're no longer lying to yourself about what's needed. You're facing it, you're owning it, and you're doing something about it. This doesn't mean being cruel to yourself. It means respecting yourself enough to stop hiding behind false comfort. It means talking to yourself like someone you're responsible for. You wouldn't lie to someone you love, so why lie to yourself? If something's broken, say so. If you're wasting time, admit it. If you're holding back, face it. The moment you do, you take your power back. Most people never reach their full potential, not because they don't have it, but because they never got real with themselves. They built their lives around distractions, comfort, and image. They kept saying things like "I'm fine" when they weren't. They kept saying "I'm trying" when they knew they were stalling. And over time, those lies became their reality. But that doesn't have to be your story. You can stop that cycle today, not by changing everything overnight, but by getting honest about where you are. What needs your attention? What are you avoiding? What truth have you been too afraid to face? Ask the hard questions. Then sit with the answers. Don't run, don't distract, just face it. That's how you build strength on the inside. That's how you stop drifting and start directing your life. It's not weakness to face the truth, it's wisdom. Weakness is hiding behind fake positivity. Weakness is smiling through pain and calling it strength. Strength is saying, "I'm not okay, but I'm willing to fix it." Strength is admitting where you've fallen and getting back up with clarity. Strength is knowing what needs to change and doing the hard work anyway. So today, don't tell yourself what sounds good. Tell yourself what's real. Be the one who tells the truth in a world full of denial. Be the one who chooses honesty over comfort. Be the one who faces what's hard because you know that's where freedom lives. You don't need to explain it to anyone. You don't need to justify your truth. Just own it. Speak it. Write it down if you have to. Then use it as fuel. Because when the truth becomes your standard, your life starts to change. Slowly, steadily, powerfully. And in that change, you'll find something no lie can give you. Real belief. The kind that stays with you because it was built on something solid. something honest, something true. Number 8, back yourself up like no one else ever will. There comes a time in your life when you have to stop waiting for support. You have to stop expecting others to understand what you're building, what you're aiming for, or why it matters so much to you. Not because they're bad people, but because it's not their job to carry your vision. It's not their responsibility to fuel your fire. It's yours. At some point, you have to step into a mindset where you back yourself up fully, mentally, emotionally, and with actions, because no one else is going to do it for you the way you need it done. You can have friends, you can have family, you can have people who care about you, but there's a limit to how far their encouragement can take you. That's why self-belief isn't optional. You can't build a solid future on borrowed confidence. You can't chase goals while constantly waiting for someone to clap for you or reassure you. You have to become your own support system. You have to show up for yourself even when nobody else does, especially when nobody else does. Backing yourself means being the first person in your corner. It means betting on your ability to grow, to figure things out, to improve. It means holding yourself steady when the results are slow and when nothing's working the way you hoped. Most people fold at the first sign of resistance because they never learned how to stand up for themselves when things get hard. They only move forward when someone pushed them. But if you want to build something real, you can't depend on push. You have to build pull, internal pull. A drive that doesn't shut down when life gets quiet. Backing yourself is about responsibility. You stop blaming other people for what's not working. You stop looking outside for someone to fix your life. You stop expecting someone to come save you from your bad habits, your poor choices, or your lack of results. You look yourself in the eye and say, "This is on me now. I'm not waiting anymore." That moment is hard, but it's also powerful, because now you're in charge, and when you're in charge, you can do something about it. You can set higher standards, you can break cycles, you can create structure where there's been chaos. You can choose discipline over comfort, but all of it begins with believing that you're worth the work. If you don't back yourself, you'll keep hesitating. You'll keep explaining your ideas instead of executing them. You'll keep worrying about failure more than you focus on progress. You'll keep giving energy to people who doubt you instead of giving that energy to your goals. When you back yourself, you become more selective with your time. You stop chasing validation. You stop looking for people to agree with your direction. You understand that not everyone will see what you see, and that's fine. You're not building your life to impress anyone. You're building it to become who you know you can be. And that version of you doesn't need applause. That version of you just needs action, repetition, and focus. Most people don't back themselves because they don't trust themselves. They've broken too many personal promises. They've avoided too many hard choices. They've played small for too long, and now they doubt their ability to handle more. If that's you, don't feel ashamed, but don't stay there. You rebuild trust with yourself by doing what you said you'd do, not once, but over and over. The more you show up for your goals, the stronger that trust becomes. And once you trust yourself, you no longer need constant reassurance. You become steady on your own. Backing yourself also means speaking to yourself like someone who matters. It means cutting off the negative self-talk. It means not letting one bad day turn into a full breakdown. It means reminding yourself of your wins, even the small ones. You don't need anyone to tell you you're doing well if you're keeping score the right way. You know when you've put in the effort. You know when you've stayed consistent. You know when you've made progress, even if no one else noticed. That's what keeps you going. Not outside attention, but internal accountability. There's something unshakable about a person who doesn't quit on themselves. You can feel it in how they walk, how they speak, how they move through the day. They're not perfect. They're not always confident, but they're grounded. They've made a decision to support their own growth, and they follow through. That's what you want to become. Not someone who only works when conditions are ideal, but someone who keeps going regardless. And here's the truth. Sometimes the people closest to you won't understand what you're doing. Sometimes they'll doubt you. Sometimes they'll think you're wasting time. Sometimes they'll project their fears onto your plans. If you let that stop you, you'll live their life, not yours. But if you back yourself, you'll move forward anyway. You won't need everyone to believe in you. You'll believe in yourself enough to start, to build, to keep going until the results speak for themselves. Backing yourself also means protecting your mind, being mindful of what you consume, being honest about what's helping you and what's holding you back. You can't support your own growth if you're constantly feeding your brain things that weaken your mindset. Cut the distractions, limit the comparison, pay attention to the thoughts you allow, because your inner voice becomes your outer actions. And if that voice is strong, your steps will be too. You're not here to live a life built on approval. You're here to build a life that reflects your strength, your drive, your values. And that kind of life doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you back yourself with actions, with discipline, with belief. even when the results aren't showing up yet. Especially then, there will be days when you feel unseen. There will be moments when doubt tries to take over. That's when you need to remind yourself why you started. Not by scrolling, not by asking for advice, but by doing the next right thing. That's what backing yourself looks like. Quiet consistency, relentless focus, real progress, no noise, just work. You owe it to yourself to become someone you can count on. Not just when you're motivated, but when you're tired, when you're unsure, when things aren't clear. Because the more you back yourself, the less you depend on circumstances to keep you going. You become self-driven. You move forward with or without company, with or without praise, with or without immediate results. It's not easy, but it's worth it. Because at the end of the day, the world might forget your effort. People might overlook your progress, but you'll know. You'll know what you gave. You'll know what you sacrificed. You'll know that you didn't fold, didn't quit, didn't wait for someone to rescue you. You became your own strength. You became your own motivation. You backed yourself like no one else ever did, and that made all the difference. Number 9, trust your effort more than your current results. Too many people quit not because they lack potential, but because they don't see fast results. They start something new, put in a few days or weeks of effort, and when progress doesn't show up the way they imagined, they begin to doubt everything. They think maybe they're not good enough. Maybe it's not working. Maybe they should try something else. That mindset destroys more dreams than failure ever could. The truth is, if you only trust results, you'll always be at the mercy of things you can't fully control. But when you trust your effort, what you show up and do every single day, you stay grounded, you stay focused, you stay in the game long enough to actually see real change. Effort is your responsibility. Results are the byproduct. If you show up and give everything you've got, that counts, even when there's nothing to show for it yet. Real growth often happens underground. It's silent, it's invisible. You don't always feel it or see it right away, but it's happening. And the only way you'll ever see it turn into something greater is if you keep going through that silent season. The early stages are not about winning. They're about building consistency, discipline, and belief. You don't get those things from instant rewards. You get them by staying committed long before the results show up. People give up too early because they measure success by short-term outcomes. They do something hard for a few days and expect transformation. But that's not how this works. Progress isn't always fast. It's not always obvious. But if you're doing the right things, if you're pushing forward, if you're putting in the work, it's working. Even if the scale isn't moving. Even if nobody notices. Even if it still feels hard, it's working. Because you're building something stronger than motivation. You're building a standard, and standards will carry you much further than emotions ever will. You've got to stop letting your current results define your future potential. What you see today is not the full picture. What you feel today is not the whole story. Your effort is the investment. And like any investment, it takes time to grow. You don't plant a seed and dig it up every day to check if it's growing. You water it, you protect it, you give it what it needs, and then you wait. You trust the process. You stay patient, you stay focused. That's how results show up in their own time, not yours. Trusting your effort doesn't mean you ignore feedback. It doesn't mean you keep doing the same thing forever with no results, but it does mean you give yourself enough time to learn, to adjust, and to improve. You don't quit in the middle just because it's not happening fast enough. You stay in it long enough to see the breakthrough that most people never reach because they quit too soon. You've got to respect your effort. You've got to stop discrediting the work you've already done just because you're not where you want to be yet. If you got up early today and showed up for yourself, that matters. If you chose discipline over comfort, that matters. If you stayed consistent when it was easier to walk away, that matters. You're not wasting your time, you're preparing. You're developing the strength, the habits, and the mindset you'll need when the results finally come. The people you admire, the ones who have built something real, they didn't get there by chasing quick wins. They got there by showing up on the hard days. They pushed through the doubt. They trusted the work even when it wasn't paying off yet. That's what separates people who succeed from people who stay stuck. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's the ability to keep showing up and trusting the process when there's nothing glamorous about it. Every day you give your best effort, you build proof. Proof that you're serious. Proof that you're committed. Proof that you won't back down when things get uncomfortable. That proof builds belief. Not the kind that comes from hype, but the kind that comes from experience. From knowing that you've done it before and you can do it again. From knowing that your actions are aligned with your goals, even if the scoreboard hasn't caught up yet. You don't need to feel like a winner every day to become one. Some days you'll feel tired. Some days you'll question everything. Some days it'll feel like you're walking through fog. But your effort on those days matters even more, because it means you've made a decision to show up for your future. not just your feelings. That's what real growth is. Choosing discipline when motivation is gone. Choosing action when results are invisible. Choosing belief when doubt is screaming. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are becoming. Every bit of effort you put in is adding up. It may not show in the mirror yet. It may not show in your bank account yet. It may not be obvious to anyone around you, but it's building something. Stay in it. Keep doing the work. Let go of the timeline. Let go of the comparison. Focus on the input, not the outcome. When you stop chasing validation and start chasing mastery, everything changes. You stop needing proof before you move. You move because you trust your direction. You trust that the work you're doing today is laying the foundation for something greater. You don't need the whole path to be visible. You just need to keep taking the next step with intention, with purpose, with faith in your effort. This isn't about working blindly. It's about working wisely and giving your work time to grow, time to take root, time to show up in ways you never expected. The results will come, but only if you stay focused long enough to see them. If you walk away too soon, you'll never know how close you were. So stop asking if it's working. Ask if you're working. Ask if you're being honest with your effort. Ask if you're staying consistent when it gets boring. Ask if you're holding yourself to the standard you promised. That's what you can control. And when you control that, the results become inevitable. Don't let numbers or timelines or opinions define your progress. Let your efforts speak. Let your actions show what you value. Let your consistency do the talking. Because if you keep doing the right things with intensity and patience, the results will show up. And when they do, they'll be stronger, deeper, and more permanent than anything built on shortcuts. Trust your effort. Honor your work. Keep showing up. Not because everything is perfect, but because you're building something that matters, something real, something lasting. And the only way to get there is to keep going, especially when it's hard to see how far you've come. Number 10. Train your mind to focus only on real effort. Most people waste their mental energy on things that don't move their life forward. They worry about how they look, what others think, who's ahead, and who's watching. They obsess over results, compare their progress, and overthink every step. All of this clutters the mind and drains the energy needed for one thing that actually matters: real effort. If you don't train your mind to focus on effort, you'll get caught up in everything that doesn't help you grow. You'll look busy, you'll feel overwhelmed, but nothing will change. Because energy scattered is energy wasted. If you want results, you have to direct your attention where it counts. Your mind needs structure, not chaos. It needs focus, not noise. The more time you spend on things you can't control, the less time you have for what you can. You can't control outcomes, timelines, or other people's opinions. But you can control how hard you work, how consistent you are, how many times you show up, and how much focus you bring to the task at hand. That's where your power lives. Not in worrying, but in working. Training your mind to focus on effort means you stop chasing motivation. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You stop feeding distractions. You wake up, you get to work, and you measure your day by how well you followed through, not how you felt or what showed up on the outside. This is how discipline is built. It's not glamorous, but it works. It always works. Because effort done repeatedly changes everything. You've got to teach your brain that effort is the target, not approval, not applause, not comfort, not speed, just effort. If you gave your full attention, stayed consistent, and followed through, then you're winning. Even if you didn't finish everything, even if nobody noticed, even if it was hard, the win is in the action, not the reaction. When you start thinking like this, your mind gets clearer. You stop overanalyzing. You stop making excuses. You stop negotiating with laziness. You become someone who shows up regardless of how you feel. And that shift is where transformation begins. Because most people lose momentum, not from lack of ability, but from lack of mental direction. They don't know how to manage their own thoughts. Their minds are everywhere, focused on everything except what actually matters. So nothing sticks, nothing lasts, nothing moves forward. You have to retrain your brain. You have to set a new standard. You have to remove the clutter and say, from now on, I only measure progress by effort, not how quickly things happen, not how smooth the path feels, not whether people support you or not. Just effort. Pure, focused, consistent effort. If you say you're going to work for 1 hour, then you work for that hour. No scrolling, no multitasking, no distractions, just effort. If you're practicing a skill, you stay locked in. If you're trying to get better at something, you put in the time even when it's frustrating. That's the mindset. That's what separates those who get results from those who stay stuck hoping. Most people don't need more information, they need more focus. They already know what they should be doing, but they keep allowing their minds to wander. They keep letting small things steal their time, They keep avoiding the uncomfortable parts of growth by giving attention to easier, less important things, and then they wonder why they feel stuck. It's not a mystery. It's a mental discipline problem. If your mind is not trained, your effort is scattered. And when your effort is scattered, you don't grow. You must get to the point where you protect your focus like your future depends on it. Because it does. Every time you bring your attention back to the task, you get stronger. Every time you say no to distraction, you become more powerful. Every time you lock in and finish what you start, you train your brain to expect more from itself. And that expectation turns into habit. That habit turns into belief. And that belief turns into results. But it starts with effort. Not just doing the work, but doing it fully. Without shortcuts, without half-trying, without wasting time on things that don't serve your progress. It means building a mindset that shows up early, stays late, and doesn't complain. A mindset that says, this is who I am now. I put in the work. I focus on what matters. I trust my grind. This kind of thinking builds something solid. You stop chasing inspiration. You stop comparing timelines. You stop looking for quick wins. You become someone who stays the course because your eyes are on your work, not on the noise around you. You're not impressed by distractions. You're not pulled by drama. You've trained your mind to stay focused on your actions. And yes, this takes time. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but that's the cost of self-mastery. That's the price of success. Everyone wants change, but very few are willing to discipline their focus. If you do, you'll stand out, not because you're smarter, but because you're consistent. You stay locked in. You don't need constant reminders or rewards to keep moving. You've wired your brain to value effort over everything else. This mindset gives you peace. It takes the pressure off results. It takes the stress off outcomes. You know that as long as you're doing your part, the results will take care of themselves. You stop needing everything to go perfectly. You stop quitting just because it's not happening fast. You stay committed because your attention is on your process, not your doubts. So from this point forward, build your days around effort. Ask yourself, where did I show up? Where did I stay focused? Where did I avoid distractions and give my best energy? That's what you want to track. That's what matters. Because when effort becomes your habit, results become your reality. No more wasting time. No more scattered focus. No more thinking about what doesn't help. Train your mind to focus only on effort. The more you do, the clearer things get. The more you act, the more belief you build. And the more belief you build, the closer you get to the life you were meant to live. It all starts in your mind. Control it, and you control everything. If you've made it this far, it means something inside you is ready to change. Remember, believing in yourself is not a gift, it's a skill. And like any skill, it grows with effort, focus, and daily action. These 10 ways aren't just ideas, they're habits that will shape your future. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Start now. Back yourself, show up, and take control of your life. You're capable of more than you've allowed yourself to believe. Make the decision today to trust your path and follow through. Your next level starts when you do. Stay consistent and keep going.